Hello and good morning, students. In today's class, we'll study on the topic of functions of clothing. So, there are various functions and uses of clothing, that is, to why an individual wears a clothing. So, to begin with, we can say that the functions of clothing can be divided into five different basic functions. First one is the protection, identification, modesty, status, and adornment. Basically, these are the five main functions of or main uses of clothing, and these are also very similar to the theories of motivation related to the wearing of clothes by primitive people. There are some other functions, very important functions that clothing perform. That is the comfort function. It provides comfort. Medical function. It is also having cultural and religious function. Sports and activity function, fashionable function, and gender differentiation. And it also plays an important role in identifying the ceremony or ritual in which you are participating. First of all, we come to the protection part of it. The first main function of clothing is to provide protection. The clothing that we wear protects our body. It insulates our body from cold and keep us away from the sun. And this is how the kind of clothing you wear, the kind of fabric you use, the kind of silhouettes that you use in your clothing help you to protect yourself from the external environment. So next, we move on to some of the kind of different clothings are designed for specific occupations, specific hazardous occupation, or sometimes also a special kind of clothing is required in sports and other activities. So these are the kind of clothing which help you to again protect yourself from some kind of external environment that you are present in. So these are some of the examples that you can see in the images. For example, construction workers, firefighters, police officers need special clothing for their safety, and that is why these kind of clothing are also termed as occupational clothing. Next, you can see on this slide, there's an image which shows a special clothing designed for the construction worker, which has a special kind of head covering with fire helmet, fire gloves, and also a fireman, that is fire belt and firefighting boot. These are special kind of clothing designed for army and policemen, that is bulletproof jacket or special kind of shoes with lot of padding and special kinds of vests and caps and other accessories. Likewise, also the workers in the hospitals and restaurants wear sanitized clothing or medical clothing to talk of, and also wear some kind of special hair covering to prevent the spread of the germs. So again, this is again one kind of occupational clothing which is required as per the specific occupation of the doctors or the people involved in the food industry to maintain hygiene amongst themselves. So again, this is some of the image which shows a special clothing designed for specific restaurant workers or people in the food industry. Some of the other examples of occupation clothing includes the space suits, swimsuits, beekeeper dresses, air conditioned clothing. These are some of the swimsuits designed in a specific silhouette with a specific kind of fabric, so that it aids in the activity which the person is performing. Humans have shown extreme inventiveness in devising the clothing solution to the environmental hazard. So this is how you can see how does the clothing protect ourselves. Then next function is of identification. Clothing and accessories can identify people as member of groups. Special uniforms provide instant recognition of police officers, firefighters, and members of military. That is, you can easily identify by a dress of a police person or an army man, or maybe you can say a navy personnel, that this person belongs to a specific occupation. These are some of the images that you can also see. wearing the people wearing special clothing, and because of that you can easily identify their occupation. For example, we can identify different students by their uniform, that they belong to a specific college or a specific school. So likewise, also these are the images which show you the some of the various identification roles of a navy personnel or a restaurant owner, or maybe you can say some other airline workers or athletic teams. For example, our cricket teams of the world have different kind of dresses. The color coding is there, so with that color coding you will identify that this particular team is from India or this is from Australia, and so on. These are some of the more images which make you identify the kind of occupation these people belong to because of their clothing. Another thing, that is badges and pins on the jackets also help to identify the status of these particular individuals in their specific occupations. We'll come to it later in the lecture. Third, another very important function of clothing is to provide the modesty. Clothing provides modesty. What is modesty? Modesty is basically, it is a belief about proper way to cover the body with clothes as per the norms set by the specific society in which you belong to. So modesty varies for different occasions, for different people, or for different communities, or for different decades. So modesty basically is relative to occasions, to community, to timing, and that is why you cannot have a very specific definition of modesty. What is modest in Western culture may not be modest, or may be immodest in the Indian culture. So for example, you can say that bathing suits and bare feet are okay for a beach but not for a school. So modesty varies throughout the history also. This you can see, these are various examples of modesty being displayed. The kind of clothing that they are wearing is displaying modesty, and this kind of definition of modesty is defined in their particular cultures. Next comes the status. So clothing and accessories can show person's status, position, or rank within a group. Members of military wear insignias to indicate their rank. Captains of athletic teams may have a special badge or marking on their uniform. So these kind of various symbols or insignias or special logos help the persons to identify the kind of status that they belong to their in their particular occupation, and so on. These are some of the images. For example, you can see a brigadier or a colonel may have more badges than a sepoy. So these are some of the examples. And in history also, there are many examples of elaborate status definition through clothing. So for example, in China, only the emperor could wear yellow color clothing. So again, this was classified. For example, those who are emperor, that means those who belong to the higher status, the highest status of a particular community is only allowed to wear the clothing made up of yellow color. And also in Rome, for example, the senators could only wear the garments dyed with Tyrian purple. Tyrian purple is again a dye which was very expensive. It's a natural dye which was extracted from insects found in the sea. So this was an extremely expensive dye, and only royal people, rich people could afford it. So again, this was also a status differentiation in the historical times. And also maybe in Hawaiian culture, in Hawaiian society, people only the high ranking chief or the high ranking personals in the community could wear the feather cloaks, right? Not the other people were not allowed to do that. And the last main function the clothing satisfies is the adornment. So by wearing, you beautify your body. You beautify your body wearing various types of clothing. Along with it, you wear various accessories and ornaments. So an adornment, what it is, basically a beautification. So an adornment is generally an accessory or an ornament worn to enhance the beauty or the status of the wearer. Adornments are usually colorful, and want to attract attention. These adornment express the uniqueness and creativity of the individual, and they also might bring admiration and recognition. For example, these are some of the images which show the items of adornment in the present times, and in the olden times you can say that when these kind of items or the accessories were not available. Tattooing, you must have all seen in the primitive people used to have very big tattoos made up of the natural dyes which are available in the nature. So that was the kind of adornment which was very popular in the historic times. And these days there are various unlimited examples or unlimited accessories that we can use to adorn our body. So clothing in a way also satisfy the function of decoration and adornment that one needs and an individual needs to fulfill. And also you can say the last function is the comfort, very most important function, that is clothing provides the comfort to the wearer. We wear different type of clothing in different season with different materials, with different silhouettes, cuts, so that it basically provides you comfort. So this is for today's class. We'll continue in the next class. Thank you all of you.